Izzy Adesanya is being compared to Anderson Silva. That comparison was made by Izzy Adesanya on the heels of a narrative that was taken away from the action and the style of fighting when Izzy took on Robert Whittaker. I think that it's very unfair to give the champion who left with the championship and did the only thing that he was supposed to do, show up and win. I think it's unfair to give him anything less than a pat on the back. But I do get that comparison because Anderson had a very hard time too. So many things were expected of him. And Anderson was supposed to bring the building to their feet in a jaw-dropping, explosive manner with no resistance in between. And if he did anything short of that, it was a disappointment. Do you imagine? You know the pressures, you know how hard it is to walk out there half naked with a gum shield and 4 ounces of leather on your hands opposite a trained killer? I mean, could you even imagine? But now you don't just have to fight him. You don't just have to beat him. You don't just have to make weight. You don't have to make every press conference. You don't have to do everything that the world of professionalism says you have to do. You have to also destroy him with a technique that the world's never seen before. That's a tall order. Is that impossible? Maybe. It's close to impossible. So when Adesanya says, hey, I'm getting painted with the same brush as Anderson, he's right about that. What does Adesanya need? Now, I'm not looking to shine my own wheels. Maybe a little bit. Anderson Silva had a hard time drawing. He was ranked number 1 in the world. The media and the pundits and the boys in the back all said, you're the best. But the problem was because that was all saying in unison and there was no detractor, he had nobody to fight. Anderson couldn't fill up an arena, not for sure. Anderson could not break a pay-per-view record, not for sure. It was not a lock. When Anderson was ranked number 1 in the world and Georges St-Pierre was 2, Georges St-Pierre was still the biggest draw in the sport. How does that happen? Well, Anderson discovered an opponent. Anderson got a guy who decided to go off script, that you're not the best in the world. You're not a big draw. You're not somebody we need around, whatever it was. But Anderson finally found himself a nemesis to do very good business, to bring attention, to bring a spotlight, somebody that was questioning. I don't see that happening with Izzy Adesanya. I wanted Sean Strickland to step up. I wanted him to speak up right now. I wanted him to take on Jared Cannonier in the media and look to take that spot from Cannonier. I do not think there was anything that could be done where Sean Strickland would have succeeded. The right thing to do, and the wheels were already in motion for a Jared Cannonier Izzy Adesanya fight, but I wanted Sean to get in this battle anyway. I wanted him to have the experience of it. I wanted him to see what it's like. I wanted him to understand the sport. And I wanted him to know that if he wants to make an omelet, he's going to have to break a few eggs. And anybody who's willing to stand back and go, whoa, hey, Jared Cannonier, I mean, you were ranked higher than me, and so was Brunson, and you beat Brunson, and, I got 7 wins in a row, and I'm a main eventer, but I am ranked number 6, and it's your time, then you're not understanding what's going on. And not only are you not serving yourself, you're not serving Adesanya. If you want to fight Izzy Adesanya, that's your partner. You owe him something. Now, part of that something can be an ass whipping and take his belt away, but you still owe him something if he's giving you the opportunity. And it doesn't really matter. It's hard for me to tell the story. I think Sean Strickland's a very hard fight for Izzy. I really do. I think Luke Rockhold's a hard fight for Izzy. I do. Who cares? Who cares if it goes on to be a really great fight? Who cares if there's an upset? History's going to look back at that. Well, that'll be fun for Monday morning news. If you're not the talk of the town on Friday night, if you don't have an anticipation, then you're not doing any business. You're doing a sport. That's okay. But if you want to do business within the sport, you have to have anticipation prior to the contest. This seems like a very simple theory to me. I'm a little bit disappointed that after all these years, I have to explain it in such simpleton terms. It's not about going on and having a great fight. It's about having anticipation prior to your fight. You want to serve Adesanya? You want him to give you an opportunity? Give him something nobody else has. Give him a rival. Give him a yin to his yang. Give him an opponent. And the first thing you have to do to be Adesanya's opponent, unless you want him to just end up like Anderson, yeah, man, he's the greatest. He's wonderful. Nobody's questioning that. What fun is it if nobody's questioning that? Go out there and question it. Step 1, change the narrative. Create another one. I really wanted Sean to take on Jared in the media. I want him to come after him, full guns blazing. One, it would have been very good practice for Sean. Two, it would have got Jarrett on top of his game. Jarrett would have to fire back. I mean, Jarrett had a fight over the weekend that turned out to be the number one contenders fight that on Wednesday of last week, I had to go to Google to confirm it was happening. I knew that Jarrett and Brunson were fighting. I didn't know that it was Saturday. True story. I live in this space. I don't blame myself. I accept no responsibility. Good for me. I did my research. Good for me. I got the answer. Brought it to you guys. I should have known. I should have known. Jared Cannonier becomes a number one contender after a fight that he doesn't win a single round of? I would have questioned that if I was Sean Strickland. You going to be the I haven't lost a fight in 7 fights. I have never lost a fight at this weight class if I'm Sean Strickland. This is what I'm saying. You didn't win a round on Saturday night. I think we're done here. Now, the jury's going to go deliberate. We'll come back. And if I was to bet, it still goes to Jared. But those are very good points. And that would have created something. And in the process of trying to take this away from Jared, you need to be taking some shots at Izzy. You need to be getting some attention. Plenty of things can happen between Izzy and Jared Cannonier. I don't know that we've had a title fight in a meaningful amount of time that didn't have a hiccup somewhere along the way. In a worst case scenario, you would be positioning yourself to be the next guy. You would be positioning yourself to be the backup fighter. You'd be positioning yourself to be the guy that they call. In a scenario adjacent to that, you become next. But next at 185 pounds, it isn't for us to say, guys. Luke Rockhold's back in the game, and he's playing by a different set of rules because he used to be world champion. What Luke Rockhold could do with 2 beautiful wins is more than anybody else could do being undefeated for 2 consecutive years. Nothing is for sure. Everything has to be fought over. Everything has to be debated. You must show that you want it. Izzy is doing everything right. It's a very unfair category that he's getting put on himself, but Izzy doesn't need to change the way he fights. He needs to change the guys that he's fighting. I'm not sure Izzy's not the one that needs to speak up. Izzy is the one that gave the blessing to Jared Cannonier, who became a number one contender in a fight that he didn't win a single round of, in a contest that wasn't a feature match. He's jerking the curtain partway through the card. That's got to be a problem for Adesanya. Adesanya's got this new beautiful contract. Well, that beautiful contract is only beautiful if your escalation clause kicks in. If your thresholds are met. I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for Izzy to come and say that to Cannonier. Look, man, I'm going to do business with you. Fill in the blank. I will do business with you if, and you have a week to do it, you're on the Jim Rome show. I will do business with you. You have 1 week to do it. Come hook or crook, you get on Dan Le Batard. I will do business with you if Sports Center says your name. You got 30 days. Figure it out and get it done. That's not going to happen. But Izzy's going to say in the same category, having pressures put on him, having an unfair narrative, getting boxed in until he has a meaningful opponent, and to be a meaningful opponent and making an argument, oh, I've won more fights, by golly. I deserve it because somebody said it a week ago. This was a number one contenders match. Come outside and beat the son of a bitch. Start with that. Izzy Adesanya needs an opponent. Middleweight needs somebody who can do just a little bit of thinking. You guys figure it out.